My journey to Morocco began with a 4-day break at a surf camp in Agadir on the Atlantic coast. Due to a storm, however, all surfing was off the cards, so I made my way over the Atlas Mountains to the bustling old Medina city of Marrakech.
That is Marrakech. Guy with the eagles over there, snake charmers, fucking hell. Nah.
Following day during a city sightseeing tour, myself and some German backpackers from our local riad visited the Bahia Palace and the Saadian Tombs. Marrakech was a bit confronting at first, with its bustling marketplaces known as souks full of salesmen pushing hard to sell their crafts and wares, along with snake charmers and guys touting monkeys on leashes for photographs in the Jemaa el-Fnaa square. The next morning I had convinced my new German friend Hannah and our new Israeli friend Or to join me on a hiking trip in the Atlas Mountains. My original plan was to hike Jebel Toubkal, North Africa's highest mountain. However, with heavy snow the previous days, we hired a local guide from Imlil to hike up around some of the local mountain villages set in breathtaking valleys. The day after our hike, Or and I said goodbye to Hannah and embarked on a journey over the Atlas Mountains to the Sahara Desert.
Alright, crossing this treacherous path. Survived.
We stopped along the way at the UNESCO 11th century site of Aït Benhaddou. The city is still occupied by the Berber people and is famous for being featured in such films as Gladiator and Prince of Persia. After a night in the Draa Valley, we witnessed traditional rug making in an old town in the Draa Valley, before arriving to the town of Merzouga, the gateway to the Sahara. After a camel ride in the dunes, we stayed overnight under a clear starry sky at a Berber desert camp. The next morning, Or and I with a couple of other backpackers opted to pay a driver to take us 8 hours north to the ancient city of Fes, famous for its pungent tanneries and endless labyrinths of souks in the Medina. We soaked in the eerie chaos and calm within the conflicting melodies of the evening prayer. The next day I said goodbye to Or and checked into my new hostel, where I bumped into someone I met backpacking in Brazil 4 years prior. We climbed a nearby hill to an old fortress overlooking the city.
Okay, here we are. Probably the best view of Fez on top of the old fortress up here. It's pretty stunning. That thing in there is crazy. It's like a labyrinth.
I could see a small mountainous hill in the distance known as Jebel Zalag and decided the following day I would hike out there on my own. The wildflowers were in bloom and the farmers were hard at work in the Moroccan countryside on the beautiful spring day outside of Fez.
We're in the Moroccan countryside just outside of Fez. This here is Jebel Zalag, that is where we're heading right now, which means Mount Zalag. Probably have about an hour and a half to go. It's beautiful up here. It's absolutely natural compared to what's in there anyway.
After leaving the dirt road behind, there was no specific trail to follow to the peak of Jebel Zalag, so I decided to test out my scrambling skills to the top.
In the distance there you have Fez. You can hear the call to prayer. About to make the final ascent of Mount Zalag. top. It's been a long day, hiking through the countryside and up into these hills. Haven't really stopped because I sort of want to beat sunset.
The next morning I had booked a day tour to the ancient Roman city of Volubilis. A maze of crumbling ruins and mosaics engulfed by the colours of wildflowers in full spring bloom made an interesting juxtaposition and was great for photography.
So here we are at the ancient city of Volubilis, Roman city, outside of Meknes, Morocco. It's fantastic. It's like a little maze filled with flowers and mosaics. Hear the donkeys in the background calling. It's pretty cool.
We finished the day off with a stop at the city of Meknes on our way back to Fes. The following day I was joined by Miranda, who flew out from Germany to visit me for my birthday.
It's your new friend.
Alright, buddy.
Yeah, alright.
Go. Ah, you are pretty.
Her gift to me was a day tour in the Middle Atlas Mountains to el-Fnaa National Park to view and interact with the endangered Barbary macaques. I generally don't agree with feeding wild animals and had reservations at first. However, they seem quite happy, healthy and free to roam. Our guide explained the importance tourism plays in the protection and preservation of this species.
Good? What about for the baby?
He wants one.
Le bébé. Regarde, le bébé.
Let him hold on to me. Don't go. Don't go.
Miranda was able to extend her trip, so we headed out to the Rif Mountains to stay in the famous blue city of Chefchaouen.
Call to prayer, Chefchaouen. We are at, where are we?
The Spanish mosque.
There we go. The Spanish mosque. Sort of peaceful, isn't it? Maybe a little bit scary too. What do you think? During the call to prayer, the roof mountain.
Getting lost in the Blue City was certainly a highlight for us both, and we really wish we could stay longer than the 2 nights we had planned. On our final day, we explored the city fortress known as the Kasbah before taking the bus to the port city of Tangier. In Tangier, we met a guide on the street who offered to show us around the old Kasbah, which was built by the Romans, then expanded upon by the Moors, Portuguese, French, and finally the Moroccans. The city was a hangout for artists and musicians during the hippie cultural revolution of the late 1960s.
So here we are, the Strait of Gibraltar. We are in which town?
Tangier.
We're in Tangier. This is the Moroccan side, Africa, and right across there in the distance you can see Spain, Europe. It's very far. So, welcome to Africa for a lot of people, but for us it's goodbye. And hello.
is a place that ties two continents together, not only geographically, but also culturally.
Wonderful girl. It's nice girl, wonderful. Miranda, Miranda, baila. Yalla, danza, danza, Miranda. Miranda, 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 Miranda. Venga, venga, baila. Danza, danza, Miranda, Miranda, cruas. Miranda, Miranda. Ella la paloma con su mano. Miranda, berequifa. Ella la Miranda, berequifa. Miranda, Miranda. Miranda, venga, venga. Where you from? New York. He's from New York City. America, America. Wonderful, yeah, beautiful, yeah. America is a wonderful one.
The following day, Miranda flew back to Germany and I caught a ferry across the Strait of Gibraltar to Spain.